It is no secret how delighted I am learning the impact as it unfolds before me of the executive orders on DEI, on gender, on ESG. I mean, it's my happy place. It's Dan Lennington, I have a feeling, also found something of a happy place in reading through and dissecting the impact of the executive order that eliminates DEI, because he runs the Equality Under the Law Project at Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. He joins me on the Middleton Ford Hotline to talk about it. I keep trying to unspin it to see where it goes. I want to know where, the ball of yarn rolls on this, because it seems like it could go a lot of places. It's great to have you, by the way.
Thanks. I'm just a little exhausted. I think that President Trump has given me more work in the last 48 hours than President Biden did in 4 years. It's staggering. I was quoted in the Washington Post this morning saying that I just can't believe he went this far. I never imagined that President Trump and his team would be this aggressive in combating DEI. I thought, DEI was going to be sidelined with tariffs and the border issue and crime, but no, DEI, affirmative action, race-based programs, gender ideology, it is absolutely front and center of these executive orders.
And it's with an intent to eliminate it, to excise all of it. I noticed, by the way, I think it was the ATF decided to rename their director of diversity, equity, and inclusion something else. But sorry, busted. You were caught doing that. And it seems like Trump has a team to fan out to find the offending people who refuse to comply. But how deep does it go? I believe it goes, it goes so deep, it goes to DPI because there's federal Department of Education money that flows through DPI, and they use that as an excuse to do all kinds of awful things. Obviously, it's going to go into universities, into federal contracting, Medicaid. Where else does it go?
Yeah, I can, I'll just give you a real quick rundown. This affects retirees all the way down to kids in kindergarten. That's sort of how I've been saying it, because first of all, there's been three major executive orders related to DEI and race-based programs. The one on Tuesday night was the biggest. It got rid of the granddaddy of them all, which is President Johnson's 1965 executive order on affirmative action, which required quotas and set-asides and race-based contracting. The executive order on affirmative action was so significant that President Reagan said he suggested that he might get rid of it. In Congress, in a bipartisan fashion, said, if you get rid of Johnson's executive order, we will override you and we will make it the law of the land. And so President Reagan backed down 40 years ago. So Trump did it, no problems, it's gone. Affirmative action is officially gone. The executive order bans racial preferences in federal contracting, and it enforces the ban. There's a lot of these really neat enforcement mechanisms where they say that the executive order says that if you are a federal grant recipient or a federal contractor or a subcontractor, in your contract, you must certify that you are not using race or gender as a factor in any of your employment practices, in any of the stuff you're doing, in any of the awards of your contractors. And if you violate this, you're subject to the False Claims Act, which includes triple damages. And so now people hear federal contracting and grants. Let me give you some numbers. The federal government every year sends out $1 trillion of money in the form of grants. They send out $659 billion every year in federal contracts. This amounts to 10 to 15% of our entire GDP.
Wow.
Is tied up in federal grants and federal contracts. And under Biden, they were all tainted with DEI and all tainted with race, who you're going to hire, who's on your team, are they black, are they white, are they a woman, are they transgender? All that is gone.
No, it's better. So people understand grants, especially in grants. grants go to all kinds of places. They go to city agencies. They go to, school programs. They go to nonprofits. So you're saying that this executive order says you must sign a document that says you're not doing this. And if you are found in violation of that, we're going to come after you.
Yeah, for triple damages. That's what the False Claims Act is, triple damages. And so this applies to the city of Madison, city of Milwaukee. It applies to all the hospitals in Wisconsin. It applies to all the universities, all the schools, all the high schools, all the middle schools. Everybody who's getting federal grants, they are on notice right now. And this goes even farther. I mean, it just keeps getting better. There is a section on private sector investigations where it instructs every agency. President Trump has instructed every agency. There's actually hundreds of agencies. Every agency must come up with 9 investigations that they want to start against private companies, nonprofits, foundations, bar associations, medical associations, or universities that might be using DEI right now. So this is Yale, Harvard, UW-Madison. Those people are on the chopping block. The hospitals that are pushing DEI in their health care, they're going to be coming after. Jeff Bezos is going to be under the gun. Amazon runs DEI programs. FedEx runs DEI programs. All of the major woke corporations, major woke universities, hospitals, institutions, bar associations, the AMA, everybody who has been cramming this down our throats for 4 years, they're going to have federal agents jumping around like jackrabbits in their home offices. And if you are a large company and your general counsel has not yet called you, the president, and started to talk to you about the impact of these federal orders on your business, you need to fire that attorney and get a new one, because this is a vast order applying to anybody who receives federal money, even downstream. And that is most of the U.S. economy.
Oh, and you ever think about these large corporations? There's a ton of federal money that touches these large private corporations. I mean, Amazon Web Services it may be the largest private sector contract. Maybe Google's bigger, but it's huge. Walmart has federal dollars, federal contract dollars. I can't. I mean, in fact, I can't think of a company that doesn't actually. And so that is also in this order as well. And of course, that trickles down into the pressure on smaller companies as well. Like Biden made sure it trickled down, didn't he? And so the expectation is that this will do the same.
Yeah, and I mean, I get calls all the time from people in Wisconsin who work at very large companies, which I won't name. They have big buildings in downtown Milwaukee, and they get passed over for promotions because they're white males, or they're forced to go to trainings that says that they have white rage or white fragility or white privilege. You better be on the lookout for this, and these companies better figure out what they're doing right quick, because if that stuff continues, these employees can turn into whistleblowers now. And whistleblowers have the right to file their own what's called key tam actions, which is a false claim action against their employer, and get triple damages and punitive damages and all sorts of stuff. And so the teeth that has been inserted into this executive order is probably the most significant element of these executive orders, is that there's real teeth in them. They have real effect in the real world immediately. These are just not pieces of paper. These are things that are going to adjust the way that we do business in America, and they will stop the harassment, stop the racial harassment that's going on in every workplace, every major workplace in Madison and Milwaukee and throughout Wisconsin immediately. And if not, you can call us. We have filed complaints with the federal government against private companies and government agencies, and cities and counties. If this is going on in your city, county, government agency, your employer, your kid's school, your kid's university, your hospital, you call us, and we'll get this in front of Pam Bondi at the Attorney General's office. We'll get it in front of the Department of Education, And this is going to have real-world consequences for everybody.
So I think that Will should hire more lawyers because I think you're going to have a lot of people. So I love this sort of instant cause of action. So now you're a whistleblower if you're working for one of these organizations. And that gives you, you don't have to struggle, to get any kind of claim because it's sort of automatic for you. I like that. I didn't realize that was something that was included in this order as well.
Yeah, and what we're talking about here is something that should not be happening, which is discrimination based on race. Because
it's
that
illegal.
Should not even be. So for all these people belly aching and whining about, oh boy, the big bad federal government's coming down on me, what you're doing, your DEI practice, is illegal, and it has been illegal since the Civil Rights Act in the 1960s. It has been illegal since the 14th Amendment was passed, if you're working in a city or a county. So you have been on notice for decades and decades that what you're doing, when you tell people that they're less than because of their race, or that they need to take a seat in the back of the bus because of their race, you should know that your DEI policies and your trainings and your hiring and your promotion policies, that you should have known that these are illegal. So I have no sympathy for these people, these DEI HR people who are waking up this morning and saying, oh my gosh, I didn't know I couldn't tell this person that they had white rage and they should sit at the back of the class, and that they couldn't come to the affinity group for the racial minorities. No, you should have known that. Any decent person should know that you should not discriminate based on race. And so I've got no patience for these people. Time's up, and somebody's gonna pay the piper unless you change your behavior.
You're awesome. Thank you for coming on my program today, Dan. I appreciate it. I'm just going to let that be the final closing paragraph of this hour. Thank you so much. And thanks to Middleton Ford as well. Dan Lennington, ladies and gentlemen, and please check out WILL, WILL-law.org. We'll be right back.